relevant is that it's part of every industry, every department, every branch, every part of a job role has some type of cybersecurity involved to help that general overall scope of cybersecurity, but overall making sure from ESA Council's perspective, there's so many different branches of cybersecurity and making sure that you're skilled enough to either work with protecting cyber threats like hacking, malware, data breaches, cloud security. There's so many different aspects of cybersecurity now, but overall, I would say that it's a protection of systems, networks, data, and information.
Thank you. So from our own perspective, I teach cybersecurity as well, and it's Jason that I've been working with. Okay, so I think Amar Jafri has his hands up. I'll get his feedback, and then we will move on.
Just a quick feedback. I think sometime back, a USA-based cybersecurity expert came to Pakistan for a briefing on cybersecurity. So one of the participants asked the question, what's the best security? He said 2 inches of air, don't connect. So it's equally true now. If we want a foolproof cybersecurity, we don't need to connect. We have to go back to the past. So since we cannot afford to go in the past now, so I think the best cybersecurity is that definitely we have to be proactive rather reactive. Because if we become reactive in the cybersecurity, definitely we'll have problems. So this was only my 2 cents for this. Thank you much.
Thank you, Amar Jafri. So I do a lot of training as well, not maybe as big an expert as Jason, but still have some experience with cybersecurity. I have masters in information security. So if we start with cyber, so cyber is basically connecting 2 networks together. So when you're transferring data from one network to the other, that you need to protect it. So you need to protect it in transferring, and then you need to protect it in both the networks as well. So we need to make sure that the data at rest is also protected, data in transit is also protected, and while the data is being processed. So now hackers, they are trying to get into microprocessors, and within the microprocessors, they're looking at the registers when organizations are actually processing the data in the microprocessor in an unencrypted format. So now the efforts are going on to see whether data can be processed while it's encrypted. So when data is in transit, data at rest, and data under processing, we need to protect that as well. So cybersecurity means protecting information, protecting networks. As Jason said, it's not just about information, it's about the network. So you need to protect your networks, you need to protect endpoints. So you need to protect every aspect of where your data can reach. You also need to protect humans who are processing it. So physical security becomes an important part, not only for the premises where your information systems are housed, but also where your people are processing those data. Thank you very much. So now next question again for Jason. So why is cybersecurity important for organizations and individuals?
Well, I think it's important because we live in the digital world. I mean, everything is in IT systems, it's on networks, it's on the internet, cross platforms, hybrid infrastructure between on-prem and in the cloud. So cyber has to become a huge focus, a huge part of really every organization's business processes. So that's where I guess the kind of rubber meets the road between running a business and cybersecurity. So one of the things that we do a lot is work with business leaders to take business goals and objectives, align that with cyber risk to be able to ensure that they're operating the business in a secure fashion, because the speed that the threat landscape changes, the businesses have to keep up with that. So having strong governance over their cyber program, having the more advanced risk mitigation strategies in place, being compliant if they're in regulated industries. All these things are important, and it's kind of the new way to focus on running a business.
Thank you. And Zara, EC Council has courses, hundreds of courses related to cybersecurity, right from protecting the information to information systems to ethical hacking to CISO, Certified Chief Information Security Officer, and physical security as well. In your opinion, why is cybersecurity so important for individuals as well as organizations?
Sure. For organizations, of course, just kind of going off of what we were talking about with what is cybersecurity, protecting that sensitive data that runs the company, protecting the individuals within each different department, and of course, sensitive data overall. But for individuals, I think it really does go down to what Jason said. We live in a digital world. Overall, I think the biggest threat is identity, right? Fraud, just some privacy breaches alone. I mean, even within your home, right? There's people who are even going on hacking car fobs within their home, in front of their homes. Just my neighbor actually got their car hacked, but they found it 2 days later. But they found it; they could track it, right? So it's really, really relative just to like it within our home, not just at work as well, because we have brought it. Wi-Fi is we need to protect our own Wi-Fi within our own networks. Google, Alexa, all of these things that we're using requires protection, requires people to understand how to do that, not just in an organization, but also individually at home within the family, and creating that cyber awareness.
Yeah, just as we know, a major internet service provider in Toronto got hacked, and they were providing home-based security to individuals, and all the videos from the house, they were posted on the internet. So the hackers, they got into that home-based security system, and some of the users even had the cameras in their bedrooms, which actually was, all this personal space was now available on the internet. They really need to understand how to protect themselves. And as Zara said, the fraud is so omnipresent these days. One of the things that is now coming up so much is the false and misleading propaganda that is misleading people into different it's creating chaos in the society. We really need to understand, and we need to understand exactly how to protect ourselves. Individuals need to understand how to protect themselves from these sort of threats. And talking about threats, my next question to Jason again is, what are some of the cybersecurity threats that you run into these days?
I think the biggest threat is social engineering. By far, people are a lot easier to manipulate than computer systems. That's not to discount the hackers that are out there that are breaking into computer systems. Absolutely still happening. But I think with the way cybersecurity companies have kept up with the threats, vendors being able to patch and recognize 0 days and things like that in a quick fashion, the bad guys out there have transitioned more to the human beings. And we look at, phishing is still the #1 reason for breaches out there. Phishing protection is better than it has been, but that's led the bad guys to find other ways to social engineer. There's deep fake videos, voice cloning, AI, all these things are on the rise as techniques for bad actors to manipulate human beings through social media, and other channels. And we work a lot with organizations to help build that into their security awareness training for the organization, which is, in my opinion, when I consult with businesses, that's one of the key pieces, if not the most important part to their cybersecurity program, is training the staff and training them on a regular basis, annual 15-minute video once a year is not enough. And so, we want to do, continuous phishing simulations, training videos, so they're really understanding what is out there. And unfortunately, we kind of live in a world where it's hard to trust who you're talking to, whether it's online, on the phone. Text messaging is another one. I mean, the list goes on and on with the way that you can, kind of be exposed to certain threats. So people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sarah, certified ethical hacker, network defender course, and all the other courses. Threat hunting is an integral part of these courses. When I teach CISO course, I actually focus so much on threat hunting. So to see whether or not the CISOs are aware of what's happening in this world these days. So from EC Council perspective, can you elaborate a little bit on this threat and threat hunting, and what are the real threats that you see in the world that EC Council is trying to come up with and advance their courses accordingly?
Yes, I know recently we've updated CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, to version 13, which includes AI. So that alone, incorporating AI within ethical hacking, I feel like that is going to be a really big key feature for this year, just because AI and cybersecurity should be kind of, let's say, try to work together, right? It's an up and coming. Everyone wants to kind of be a part of that AI. What is it? And with ethical hacking and using AI and incorporating it, I think that's a really great feature that EC Council has added. And of course, it's going to be I think it is already incorporated in a lot of other courses like the cloud security and all those. But overall, I feel like the threat is very similar to what Jason said, is just people. Like I keep saying, in different branches of a department, there's so many different people that are at the front desk, are behind the desk, that are not even on the facilities. So a lot of it is people, and the phishing, smishing, and all of that. Of course, that's really good that organizations are doing those campaigns for those cyber threat awareness and stuff like that. But I do believe individually, at the youth level, everyone's on the computers now. It's really hard to avoid that. So I think just avoid clicking any links, I think links are a huge thing. A lot of times people are always, oh yeah, it's easy to just click a link through my text messages, through email. Everything is on your phone. But I believe that might be the biggest threat. Having the understanding of how to protect your own network, right? Different threats can happen, even if you're just connecting to the network Wi-Fi at Starbucks, right? You really don't know. So having that understanding, but really the threat is everywhere. It is everywhere.
Absolutely. So as Jason said, humans are the weakest link of on this, and they are exposed to the threat all the time. So there's an organization, a state-sponsored organization in China that hires nearly 150,000 people, and their only job is to look for vulnerabilities in the systems in the Western world. And so that's a huge threat. And then, as you said, AI. Now, I've been advising organizations. I go around the world with Canadian delegations, and I've been talking at different embassies, etc. And I always tell people, and I actually encourage, if I can find an American, or just like Jason, he used to be with the US military, I would encourage everybody, especially who can listen, to start certifying people who are working with AI. Anybody who's developing AI should be licensed. Just like, you're driving the car, you need to be licensed. If you're doing anything with AI, you should need to be licensed, because there's a lot of potential for harm as well with AI. With, all this false propaganda that you see, your AI is only as good as the data that it's trained on.
Yes.
That's a huge threat. And so there are these threats. Then there's the threat of untrained staff. Now, organizations, they don't realize that the CEOs or the C-level executives can be sent to jail if they hire untrained staff, because that's negligence. They are trusting their information, they're trusting their networks to people who are not trained to take care of them, and that's pure negligence. The courts are beginning to look at that as negligence, and that's why there's so nearly 4 million available jobs globally that's not fulfilled, because the executives are not clear that the people that they're hiring are trained for it. They can't find trained staff. So that's again a big threat to the organizations. They need to protect their information, they need to protect their systems, but they can't find trained staff. So I think, in my opinion, that's also a huge threat to the organization. So that brings me to next question. Jason, what, in your opinion, is the reason for the shortage of globally trained staff or globally trained people in cybersecurity?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think maybe the shortage stems from, I think, people maybe not understanding where to go in cybersecurity. So if we rewind several years, probably 20, in my own career, there comes a point where you have to make a decision and go down a certain path. When I was coming up in my career, that path was kind of become a network guy, a server guy, and those two kind of bled into security. Security didn't really have its own dedicated, role or personnel back then. But as times have changed, those departments, if you will, become, very, very different, networking, servers, infrastructure, security. But then you get into one of those segments, then you can go a lot of different routes within it. So cybersecurity, you can go into threat hunting, you can go into GRC, you can go into leadership, you can do, red teaming, you can do a lot of different things inside cyber. So that's really one of the questions that a lot of people bring up to me as I mentor people coming up, people transitioning out of the military, is, what should I do? What should I get into in cyber? You got to figure out what you like to do, because there's a lot of different avenues. If you like threat hunting and hacking, then go that route. If you like paperwork, go the compliance route. And then maybe you build yourself up to the CISO level, and kind of do the leadership governance position. So I think that could be the reason for the shortage. Is just maybe a lack of understanding and clarity on how to get into the field, and then how to navigate your way through the field, based on your interest.
Zara, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the lack of skilled talent is 100%. I feel like the industry, I'm kind of stepping away from the EC Council, but a lot of the times when we do these presentations for colleges and universities and cybersecurity talent, like the youth, we always say, similar to what Jason said, what do you like in cybersecurity? Do you like to hunt? Do you like to detect? Do you like more technical? Do you like to be more compliance? There's so many different venues in cybersecurity that it's very, they just don't know where to start. So what EC Council has done is has a career map. There's different industries, different branches, right? Threat intelligence versus application security. So there's lots of different avenues in cybersecurity that I feel like a lot of people just don't know. They don't know how to do it. It seems too complicated. And overall, EC Council is definitely working really hard to make sure that it's available to the youth, to women, indigenous, making it available and not just so, male dominated and very technical. It's not very technical. We have a certification, certified secure computer user, which anyone that's using a computer should have that certification. So I think it's just the lack of understanding, and like Jason said, just the lack of understanding from companies and industries how much cybersecurity is going to be important and how much they should invest in it now, not just within their organization, physical and protection and security like that, but with the employees. They need to upskill because cybersecurity is rapidly changing, as we know. Just in the last year, it's really, really changed. And then just, of course, making sure that we limit the cyber threats. Again, starting from home and then going to that bigger organization level. So I think there needs to be more money involved in training, and making sure there's more awareness.
Yeah. So, so my take on this is, I've been in IT for a long time. So if you remember, I don't know, Zara, if you would remember this, but I definitely do, that in the 1990s, there was a huge rush to get into internet technologies. And anybody who could say the word internet was as hired as an internet expert. And then in the year 2000, 2001, there was a bubble burst. There was a huge, before 2000, there was hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people learning IT. And you know, they went into IT like en masse. But then there was a bubble burst. And the the registration in college, pardon me, I think I have a frog in my throat. The bubble burst, after the bubble burst, the registration or enrollments in colleges and universities went down to less than 20% of what it was in 1999. And that trend continued until like 4 or 5 years ago. And then all of a sudden, you know, the people who were in the industry, they started retiring, and technology has changed so much. What you can even look at what Microsoft servers, the way the servers are built up, the Linux servers that are built up, and then the cloud technologies came in. And after the COVID-19, there's a huge push to go into cloud, but there are not enough trained staff, and people are not hiring, or organizations not hiring, because for legal purposes, they really need to show that they're hiring trained staff. So I think that's one of the major reasons is that first of all, that bubble bursts, because of the bubble burst, the enrollment in colleges and universities went down, and then the technology changed so much, and then COVID-19, there's been a huge push towards cloud. So and then because of all the hacking activities from globally, like, you know, Russia, Ukraine, China, North Korea, you name it, there are hackers coming in. There's so much threat now. We need more and more people to protect all the information, all the systems, but there's not enough trained staff. So I think that may be one of the reasons, and that's how we need to start attracting people to get into you know, a cybersecurity enrollment into colleges and universities, and start getting certified through EC Council or IC Square or wherever, you know, ISACA. So that's my take on this. So coming back to that, Jason, what education, trainings, and certifications are needed to provide quality cybersecurity professionals?
That's a loaded question. I think it really kind of goes back to identifying the path, right? I mean, I think, you know, operationally, if you want to go into threat hunting, you know, at an entry level, SOC analyst, I know EC Council has a really good certification program for that. You know, working your way up to ethical hacker, you know, some of the more cloud security, again, staying on the operational side. You know, if you're wanting to get into the compliance world, you know, kind of working your way up, you know, there's, you know, certifications out there to kind of break into the cyber, like Security Plus, you know, at a baseline for CompTIA is one. I know CCT is a new program that EC Council has out. That is great curriculum. I've read into it. Yeah, and you just kind of work your way up. You know, all the way up through, you know, the CCISO, you know, level if you want to get into leadership. So again, I think your certification and education path, even if you know, go to college and get a bachelor's or master's in cyber. It all really depends on that career path and where you want to go down. But luckily, organizations like EC Council, they have options for everybody. So if you no matter what lane you want to pick in cyber, there's certification, there's training, for you to be able to, help advance yourself down that lane throughout your career.
Absolutely. Zara, do you?
Yeah, Jason, that's 100%. Certifications are huge. Having the skills in order for a certain job role, that's super important. So overall, I think knowing if you're going to be going into cybersecurity and you want to know, and it's kind of answering a little bit of the question that we have in the chat. I do agree that not one person can acquire all the domains in cybersecurity and all that knowledge, but it kind of goes back to what an individual is interested in. If you really like being on the computer and investigating and diving deeper, then you want to go into investigating. If you are like to point out different things and start hacking into other ethically, hacking into into your own domain, like a lot of organizations do, that is another route. So there's different aspects of your own journey within cybersecurity that's going to come into play. So education first, of course, having certain degrees and diplomas to get into cyber science or tech. Nowadays, information technology degrees are very much incorporating cybersecurity, as well as computer science. There's certain courses that have cybersecurity, but of course, specific certifications, even within that degree, college or university, certain skills are very, very important. So let's say right now, I know a lot of people are probably have heard of like CompTIA, Security Plus, and all those. I can't speak today. CISSP, and then CCISO, but that's really, really on that higher level. So just kind of going off of what Jason said, having that career pathway, EC Council can help you with that. There's so many organizations like Faro. You guys have finally gotten approved for that diploma program. So that's such a huge, huge win for Ontario, because that lack of education into cybersecurity and that focus is really much needed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zara. I think yeah, any certification, degree, diploma, if you want to be a researcher, then you can go towards degree and then master's and PhD. But if you really likes to be hands-on, diploma is a really nice place to go. And then go on the certifications, and EC Council has so many certifications in so many different areas. And then IC Square has them, ISACA has them. We're very lucky we've got Umar Kazi in our team over here as an attendee. He's actually one of the people who actually set up the backbone of internet in Canada, so through UUNet. So he was one of the first person who set up the backbone, internet backbone. I remember in those days getting an OC1 connection or OC3 connection used to be $250,000 per month. That's how I got to know Umar Kazi, because he was doing the backbone and we needed a backbone connection. So anyway, Umar, in your opinion, what type of education requirements do you feel that the industry needs these days? Umar, are you there? Can you answer? I think Umar is
here. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I lost my client. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, definitely. Well, just like everyone has said here, security is multidimensional. Security on the network side, on the network provider side, is operational experience based, right? So you're defending not only your network, but also the access for your clients as well. So you're looking at very large volumes as of data and data flows as opposed to enterprise security. So it's definitely larger, more dangerous, more exciting. You have fewer controls, in fact, sometimes as a service provider, because you have to let the clients choose how they do their own security. You can only shape traffic flows and do massive threat intelligence type functionality. So my suggestion, having done several years of that, is if you're looking at a data center type career, or an internet provider or a telco career, think along the lines of what Feroz had said earlier. It is massive amounts of data analysis, threat intelligence dashboards, and a lot of, to be honest, analytics. So real-time analytics, and sometimes predictive analytics now, as you find in some of the newer platforms as well. So those are things to look at in your career as you learn and train and grow. That's how you would handle that. So hopefully that helps the audience. Okay.
Thanks, Umar, for the feedback. Much obliged. We'll come to the next question. So I think Zara is more appropriate for this question. Is what certificates are available to equip IT and entry-level professionals for effective cybersecurity jobs?
Yeah.
Entry level.
Yeah, I was just about to answer the question in the chat as well, that EC Council does have entry level, kind of going back to that career pathway. There's we start off with that end user awareness. So someone who works with the computer, very basic skills like how to, working with different internet providers, internet security, Windows security, different kind of operating systems. Then that is something I usually compare it to. I mentioned this earlier, anyone working with a computer, even at home, it's just having that basic understanding of what cybersecurity is, and how to kind of protect your operating systems. Then I would say we have introduced an essential series where we focus on the essentials of cybersecurity, whether it's cloud security, IoT, threat intelligence, all of that. And it's basically a entry-level course highlighting the essentials in certain fields. So for example, in ethical hacking, we have a ethical hacking essentials, which is not CEH, certified ethical hacker, because CEH is very more lab-based, more lots more, I'd say, resources are built into the course. Rather, EHE, which is one of the essentials, it gives you a very basic of understanding of what you may need. And I like to tell a lot of our students and individuals who are going into this, either it's a career starter, changer, upskiller, it goes back to what do you like? So it might be something that, hey, I really like digital forensics, but once I did the essentials, it kind of was something I wanted to go more into threat intelligence. So it really gives you a good indicator of what you may be interested in. And then, of course, the certifications, they all kind of depend. I personally am a big fan of the purple team, having that blue network defense as well as the red ethical hacking certification. So lots of great starters as well as upskillers, and of course, making sure that individually you are up to date. That is also part of the certification and keeping the certifications up.
So in your opinion, Essential Series from EC Council is something that the user should look at when they're beginning that career, and then work with their way up from there. Right?
It's the best way to do it. We're really working with high schools and the youth, and that is what we're striving for. Is what is the interest young, like when you're young, and that's a really great way of doing it because they're cheaper And we all know that cybersecurity education and training is not cheap. So I really do recommend, if you're brand new to it, you might not have a lot of technical background, that CSCU, Secure Computer User, is your best bet. Then of course, going into the essentials, because there's 8 different domains in cybersecurity there. Then of course, if you're really, really interested in a lot of C&D and CEH are very well known, and are mapped to job roles. So I also want to kind of move it back to different job roles. So a lot of the skills that are needed in one job role versus another, it varies. So that is also another way that we indicate which certifications are best.
There's a question from Chitransh Bhatnagar. I think Jason should be able to answer that. So individuals with no technical background or degree who are in this field with good skills and knowledge in the field can enter easy, or they have less upper hands as compared to technical degree holders. Who do you think is better? People with no education in the field or people with
I mean, I love certifications, but I think practical knowledge, work history, understanding, aptitude to learn, goes a long way. Again, I've met a lot of people throughout my career that are in certain positions, both technical positions, risk management positions, in the compliance world, leadership positions that aren't certified. So it's just, I think it all boils down to, where did you start your career? How did you get to this place? And a lot of people are very, very successful, without certifications. And there are other cases where certifications are required. Looking back at CMMC and all the U.S. government work, certifications are mandated to be able to do certain things. You can't participate in this government work without these different levels based on what your role is, say, on a government contract. So I think it varies. I've seen some people with maybe no certifications, but they have formal education. I've seen GRC managers that have a master's in cybersecurity, no certifications, but they kind of have that management training, through a university. So they helped them kind of get to the position that they were in. So I don't think, having certifications gives you, a massive leg up. I think maybe in some cases it does. But I don't think it holds you back either, just depending on, what you want to do. Like I said, I'm a big proponent of certifications. I have several, I collect them. Again, there's some people that don't like certifications at all, and think that they're unnecessary. And I think it just depends case by case.
Yeah, I've seen people who get offended every time I ask them if they don't have any certification. They get really offended that I have more experience and I could go and teach it. But then, there are managers or who would like to safeguard themselves. They want to hire people who are certified just to say, hey, somebody has certified this person to know what they're doing.
No.
And especially for people who are entry level in the industry who have no previous experience in cybersecurity, I think certifications are an essential route to get their legs or the foot into the industry. And then from there, they can just raise themselves. So Amar Jafri has another question.
Just a quick question. In developing countries, the cost of certification, I think CC is very good because they're offering it free for exam. Then you have to pay a very small amount. But CISSP is very, very costly these days for developing countries. So EC Council, does they have any rebated prices for the developing countries like Pakistan?
I am unsure about that, but we do have global representatives. So we would be able to get you connected with a representative within your region.
Okay. Is there any sort of a business deal in which if some company buys bulk coupons for some certifications and then they have some rebated price?
Again, I am really
Okay,
unsure about that,
fine.
but
Fine.
I'll put my email in the chat box so you can email me.
Okay,
So,
definitely.
Mr. Amar Jafri, I do know that ISACA, I deal with ISACA a lot, I deal with the EC Council a lot. They do provide bulk, they do provide discount for bulk. Like if you've got 100 certifications, they give you some discounts, and they want to win that business as well, and they want to have people train in their certifications as well. So both EC Council, IC Square, ISACA, they do provide. We work with a lot of organizations in Central Asia, in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan with universities, and we do have some bulk discounts for those regions. So yeah, they do. EC Council does provide. I'm pretty sure Zara would be able to put you in touch with people in your region.
Okay.
We can also help you there.
Actually, I already knew about ISACA because I'm president ISACA Islamabad chapter. And incidentally, even today we had a meeting with the global ISACA leaders, and the topic was use of emerging technology for SDGs. So, I know about IC Care, but I never knew about EC Council. So definitely, I'll get back to the given email address, and then we'll talk about it. Thank you much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the next question. And I think Jason, again, with his intensive experience, and what is the role of security operations centers in cybersecurity?
I mean, they're a key part. So security operations centers where your analysts are going to be, they're your watchful eye, typically, 24/7, 365, depending on the type of security tools you have, deployed in your environment. It could be MDR, XDR, your SIEM for log analysis, and more. All this data, from these tools get ingested up to a SOC and then processed for analysis. And that SOC is the one overseeing, that analysis. So if they detect something that's abnormal or possibly, malicious in the logs, maybe there has been a bad actor who's been able to get into the network and they're laying low, but maybe, they're attempting to pivot or do privilege escalation, and the logs pick up on that. The SOC sees it. They can identify it and then escalate it or attempt to remediate it, depending on the role the SOC plays, within your organization, because a lot of times they're outsourced. So yeah, they're very critical. I kind of relate SOCs in a way, if you think about IT and how critical help desk are, is that front line to your IT operations and support. That's kind of what a SOC is in the cyber world. It's that first line of defense. It's the people that have your back. They're watching your network because if there is something happening, and we all know that these bad actors can lay low for hundreds of days inside networks undetected. So the minute that they do attempt to move or gain, administrative privileges, you want that to be recognized and acted on, kind of then leading into incident response, in those different phases. So SOCs are 100% critical. I can't recommend them any higher than I already do. So if organizations out there, even if it makes sense to outsource it, please do.
So Zara, EC Council has a outstanding course as a SOC analyst, certified SOC analyst, CSA. I personally, I provide trainings for SOC analysts to hundreds of people, and I think that course is excellent. It's a very well written course. I've never seen a course written better than the CSA course, and I'm talking about CSP and all the other courses, but that serves the purpose so well. So can you talk a little bit about the CSA Certified SOC Analyst course?
Absolutely. It's a really great course, and I believe, and this is just I don't know, no one has told me, but I have a feeling that version 2 is going to come out this year. So stay tuned for that. And I believe very similar to what Jason said, a SOC analyst or having at center is super, super crucial. And of course, if you don't know what a SOC analyst is, there's different tiers to it, right? There's different job roles and all that. But basically, it gets down to their network defense technicians, the security engineers, stuff like that. But all working together to make sure that you're protecting the information in real time, which is super, super important. Our SOC analyst course is, I wouldn't say it's a shorter course, but technically it would be shorter compared to CEH, which is about 20 modules, 20 labs, and SOC analyst only has about 5 to 6 labs. So the labs, AC Council is really, really good, and we pride ourselves in our labs. They're very hands-on. Everything's built in, virtual machines, all the systems you may need is all there. So each module, each chapter goes through different domains into SOC analysts. So stuff like incident response, having incident detection, a lot of these different aspects of it will go through the course, within the course. So CSA is really for anyone that wants to be a SOC analyst. You can, from there, course, upskill and get into different other domains and maybe getting a incident response certification, stuff like that. But like Mr. Furrow said, yes, I'd say that SOC analyst is a very, very focused certification that anyone can really take if they want to be a SOC analyst.
Yeah,
And it's mapped to certain, of course, nice work frameworks that map to certain job roles directly to government, banking, finance, a lot of those.
So for an entry-level person, I would advise them basically to get some training in operating systems, something in networks. You need to know networks if you want to be in security. You need to know operating systems. But after learning networks, after learning operating systems, they need to learn SOCs, Security Operations Center, how to collect the information, how to review that information, how to raise the alerts, what are the indications of compromise, et cetera, et cetera. So SOC is really, CSA is really one of the things, one of the courses that I always advise entry-level people to get in. And once you have a CSA and you get to be a cybersecurity analyst at the entry level, you just cannot go wrong. The information is very comprehensive in the course. I really like the course. Amr Jaffrey, your hand is still raised. Do you still have a question? No, I think it's okay. So I'll move on to the next question. And this question is for Jason specifically. What is the role of networks, endpoints, operating systems, and physical location in ensuring effective security? So networks, operating systems.
Yeah, all the things. I mean, this is where it's where security starts, right? So, I mean, if we look at endpoints, operating systems, typically there's an end user sitting behind that. And who's the biggest target? End users. So in addition to the training that we spoke about earlier, having the operating systems properly secured, having certain tools, making sure the operating systems are patched, they're hardened, all these things are mitigation strategies to really compensate the training for the user, because not every user, employee, staff member is going to pay attention to the training. So most likely, like Zara said, they're going to click that link. They're going to open that attachment. It never fails. It's going to happen. So you want to ensure that you have the right, technical controls in place to, mitigate, contain, stop, that threat. If it's, say, if it's a ransomware payload that's behind that link or that attachment, that you have the operating system ready to go to identify that happening. Typically, that's probably your MDR agent. And now they're so sophisticated that they can, logically isolate that machine off the network in real time without human intervention, which is super cool. So yeah, having a good baseline for the operating system, a good security baseline, a security stack on the operating system, and build up from there. The same for your firewall, the same for your networking equipment, and really the same for your physical facility. I know since COVID and everything, shifted to work from home, a lot of the physical security aspects, in my opinion, have almost gone forgotten. Everyone is working from home. There's not a lot of organizations out there that are still in, a single facility behind a protected perimeter. So they like, well, physical security, but it's still a thing, especially you get into the compliance world, they still want to see physical controls, cameras, badge systems, visitor logs, and the list goes on. So the physical side still plays a huge role in information security. And of course it does affect cybersecurity as well. So, please don't forget about the physical, the door locks, protecting that, because, laptops have a way of growing legs and disappearing in some cases. So if that endpoint's not protected with disk encryption, very easy to take information, off that device. Mobile phones, same way. Having, physical protection around, phones, in addition to the technical, management for remote wiping, two-factor encryption, all those things.
Jason, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How important is encryption?
Extremely important at all levels. Yeah, I think Fro mentioned it earlier. I mean, encryption at rest, in transit, really just end-to-end encryption. From the time you open that web browser and connect to a cloud service, that session should be encrypted. If you are still responsible for storing, hosting data, say in your office on-prem, that data should be encrypted at rest, using some sort of mechanism like BitLocker if it's Windows. That's just one example. If you are trusting a cloud service provider to host your data, you may want to do a little bit of due diligence, just to make sure that they're doing what they should do properly on their end with encryption, and other safeguards. Mobile devices, laptop, I mean, you name it. If it has the ability, it's almost like multi-factor. If it has the ability to be encrypted, it should be encrypted. If you have the ability to turn on multi-factor authentication, turn it on, whether it's in your personal or professional life, in my opinion.
Last year, more than 10,000 laptops got lost or stolen at airports across Canada.
Yeah.
And if they had any sensitive information, sensitive information
A lot of people don't realize how easy it is to take the hard drive out of a laptop, using a small adapter to plug it into a different computer system and be able to read everything on that drive. And yes, if there's sensitive information, Word documents, PDFs, spreadsheets, they're all exposed, they're there. But if that disk is encrypted, the other computer system can't read it without the decryption key. So you're, protected.
Exactly. So I'll come to the next question. How are the government across the globe helping to protect organizations and citizens from cybersecurity threats? I know in USA, the US government is doing a lot of work. In Canada, we're doing a lot of things. How do you think organizations like other countries, what are they doing?
I think really here in the US, I mean, the government, has been playing a role for a long time in attempting to mandate, certain cybersecurity safeguards, across different industries. Different agencies are overseeing that. Some are enforced, with true penalties. Some are not. Things are changing. We've mentioned CMMC earlier. That's, a big shift. Even one of the final rules to protect the CUI data that's in government contracts actually was released today for public comment. So that's moving at the anticipated rate. Health and Human Services is currently reworking the HIPAA security rule to protect, healthcare and PHI data. So we'll be really interested to see when that one comes out of public comment, what the final rule looks like. Hopefully it has more teeth. I mean, protecting healthcare information, as we all know, is super important. In the financial world, I mean, you've got a ton of different agencies between the FTC, SEC, IRS. I mean, all these different government-based agencies overseeing financial. Some organizations see it as a hindrance to have to try to follow what the government wants to do, but I think it's necessary to protect, some of this sensitive information. I think there's a lot of industries out there that don't have any type of regulation. I think for all you had mentioned earlier, if you just wanted to be in IT, you just decided to be in IT. Same with outsourced providers. If you want to support other businesses' networks, you can just call yourself that and go to work. There's no, there's no regulation around it. You don't have a license. You don't have to prove that you know what you're doing for the most part. So I think there's still a lot of work to do, and and I think the government realizes that. I think there's a lot of moving parts. There's some rumors that the U.S. government has seen how well CMMC is shaping up for the Department of Defense. So there may be other agencies that adopt a very similar program to kind of oversee the framework implementation and security and the audits and so forth. So most people don't like the government being involved in how they run their business, but I think in some cases it's necessary and it's happening.
Yeah, it's a case of national security, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even somebody's personal laptop gets hacked, that can be used to attack, all sort of institutions. So I think there's a real need to have license, some sort of a license to operate in cybersecurity and IT area.
Agreed.
But we can keep on working on it and see how
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
FISMA has been a big help in USA. Because of FISMA, federal government organizations are required to use NIST. And because federal government organizations are using NIST, that drills down to all the state governments and the municipalities. And because of that, Canadian government now has mandated that all of its departments are using NIST. Government of Ontario uses NIST, and City of Toronto and Mississauga, they're all now shifting towards NIST-based controls. And something similar, to ensure that people are certified, that they're licensed, would make sure that everybody who's working with IT or is providing service in IT, in my opinion, the government should try and license that. In Europe, they already have NIST too, and it's similar to FISMA, so or HIPAA as well. Like they have GDPR, but the other regulations are coming up.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I mean, outside of cyber regulations, the privacy laws are popping up left and right. And I think GDPR was a big driver in that, coming out of the EU. And then here in the US, it's kind of being controlled at the state level, but more and more states are passing privacy law, to protect, consumer and individuals' information. So to me, that's a good thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Zara, how do you support this effort, or how does EC Council? I know a lot of EC Council courses are now part of US government's certifications. So how is your efforts? And I think we are still lagging behind in Canada in that respect. What is EC Council doing in this respect?
The great aspect of EC Council, what we're doing US, we really, really do want to try to mimic that into Canada. The certifications are the same, the requirements are the same, and you just mentioned NIST framework, which is now a lot of the organizations are mapping to the NICE framework, which a lot of our certifications are there, like not just CEH. So I do believe that it's important to do it. Overall, I can't really speak too much of the technical aspects of it, but I do know that we want to mimic what they're doing in US, in Canada. I'm doing my best to try to get that, talking to the right people. And thank you, Feroz, for just kind of keeping me in the loop with all the conversations that you're having. And we do hope for at least CEH, CND, and CHFI to be some type of mandatory requirement for government or forensics investigators, right?
Yeah.
A lot of this is becoming digital. So let me know what I can do to get into the good graces of the government. In Canada, I just know that lots of things are changing. So it might be really difficult. I do know that I've tried, but a lot of the times it's about budgeting and what can change and what can't. So we are starting lower within the education districts.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we are running out of time. We have a little bit over time already. Are there any questions we have a lot of other questions that we want to get into, but probably in the next seminar or next time we are meeting together, we'll discuss those. But I'd like to ask people who have attended today, if they have any questions, if there's something we can fill some information or anything else.
Just overall, I'd like to say that I specifically work for the Canadian region, but I'm happy to get connected with my counterparts in IMEA, LATAM, wherever needed. So feel free to email me if you have any interest in partnering with us or any of our certifications.
Okay, yeah, we also provide EC Council certifications, and we are actually global partners, so we can also. Hey, Abdul Rahim Khan, you have a question? Do you have a question?
Yeah, it's pleasure to be here and really lovely, nice meeting here. I just wanted to ask because AI is involving a lot and it is automating a lot of things, and certifications are relevant and things are relevant when it is needed in the market, and but based on to the development of AI, how this is going to impact those type of certification learnings and things, so and how we are going to address that so that we are timely evolved and train the people and bring the people in the market so they get the job.
Jason, do you want to get say feedback?
Yeah, AI is, I see there's a big collision in the AI world that's going to happen. So you have bad actors using AI to accelerate, the threats. You have security vendors using AI to detect those threats and combat those threats. You have AI vendors just in general, that are creating, AI platforms to, help businesses, actually be beneficial to the business through productivity and sales and marketing content, like the Chat GPTs of the world. But then there's an aspect to that where it's AI governance, so how. And that's what a big initiative for me is to kind of get into the governance world to ensure that businesses, if they're willing to allow AI inside the organization, how are they overseeing that? How are they governing what's happening inside the organization? What type of data is being ingested into these models? How are you doing due diligence against the vendors that you're choosing? All in the effort to secure it, while the bad actors are using AI. So I like for EC Council coming out with CEH 13 that has a lot of AI built into it is amazing. They're one of the first ones, I think, to the market with a certification that has an AI piece to it. And I think we'll see more of that out of the other, organizations as well. And I think AI security may branch off and be its own lane at some point. So he's like cybersecurity, AI security. Who knows? The one thing I do know is we're just getting started. AI is extremely smart today, and someone said it perfectly. But this is also the dumbest version of AI that we'll see in our lifetime. So it's only going to get more advanced. So the threats will become worse and worse. I mean, we're already seeing it with deepfake. We're already seeing it with voice cloning. I mean, those type of threats are fooling IT departments, much less, untrained end users. So being able to combat those from an ethical, standpoint to really protect organizations, there's going to be a lot of training I foresee in the future, out there that is laser specific to AI and how these bad guys are leveraging it to formulate these more advanced attacks.
Zara, how is EC Council working on incorporating AI in its courses and offering any AI related courses?
Yeah, number one is CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, version 13. We just launched it last September, and it works with AI rather than, and of course, AI is not going to take over cybersecurity in any way. I feel like a lot of people might think that, but humans are very much necessary to either debunk, I don't know what kind of word that would be, which word I would use, but to decipher what the AI information is giving you. So AI is fast. It can probably take a lot
So are
of
you
data.
telling me that AI is not going to decide what I'm going to have dinner tonight?
I mean, it could, but you still have the willpower to actually go with your choice. But yeah, no, I think AI, like Jason said, is a lot of other companies and organizations are going to be incorporating AI. ESA Council has done it, and we're going to continue doing it, incorporating it into our other certifications. But definitely ethical hacking. We also have a lot of, I would say, courses that are more learning rather than skill based, because there's more like a course, not too much lab environment, is also has a lot of security and AI, cybersecurity and AI together. So we have, like you said, we have so many courses that are incorporating AI. It's going to be the new trend, but we're going to be working with it and using the power of AI in cybersecurity and how to help the security professionals rather than, especially when we're talking about the lack of skilled training that we have. If the current ethical hackers in a company are using version 13, they are able to gain more access. They're able to help the industry a lot quicker. And of course, upskilling is always great, always great. But AI for cybersecurity, CEH is your go-to certification. And like Jason, you said, a lot of other certifications are going to follow suit.
So AI is a huge threat, but it's also a huge tool for everyone. What I'm also more concerned about is quantum computing, but we've not brought that up in any courses today. But quantum computing is coming, and that's going to be, encryption it's going to make encryption meaningless, really. We need to start protecting against quantum computing, but that's something for future to talk about.
That was why my question earlier to Jason was encryption, because I was kind of leading to that, because I'm very curious. I'm not 100% sure what that is and what that means, but I know that they're related. So that's hence why I asked you that question earlier.
I got you.
And
Yeah.
then, yeah, sorry about that, Jason.
Yeah, it's something that's coming that I think we'll need to be aware of, and that could probably be its own webinar. As to
Yeah, absolutely.
specifics.
Yeah. Canada is a global leader in quantum computing. I know a few companies that are working diligently on quantum computing over here. I know a few people who are very deeply involved with quantum computing. So, and Canada wants to keep its edge in quantum computing, but it's going to change the world, quantum computing. Yeah.
That I don't understand. So I'll do a little bit more research on it.
We'll talk about it in some other. We'll have, as Jason said, we'll have a webinar totally dedicated to quantum computing. So yeah, I think this brings us to an end. We are at about 11:50 already. If there's no more questions, thank you everyone. And as promised, we will send out a $100 voucher to everybody who's attended this webinar. And you can take any course, any EC Council course, or any other course at FTIT, Ferrotechnic Institute of Technology, and we will honor that voucher for you, and we encourage you to have as much training as possible. So Jason has just posted his email as well. Okay, you can, Jason. I can post my LinkedIn profile, Zara, and Jason, if you would like to post your.
Yeah, I'm putting it in the chat right now. If I can just
I don't
learn.
know, my computer is frozen. I can't see chat box anymore. I don't know. But if you email me, I will definitely would love to connect.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jason, for your feedback.
To the
Thank you
next
very
one.
much, Zara. for your time. And Jason, obviously you're a very busy person, and I really appreciate you
You're
giving your
welcome.
time. And
It was my pleasure joining you guys. Happy to provide my input.
thank you. We'll be posting this on YouTube, so you can also listen to it on YouTube. Everyone, if you have any questions, please send in your questions to me. I'll post my email address. And Jason has already posted his, and Zara has also posted her email address. So send us any questions to us, and we will try to answer them as best as we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank
Till
you.
next time.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Just bye.